Pray first before you make a plan. Don't make a plan and then pray that it will work, you know. And listen, I'm just as guilty of this too, you know. We all want to plan our own things out and think we can handle it all. And you know what happens? There's so many times where that leads to destruction, that leads to chaos, problems, you know, things out of order, you know, all types of disaster. Because it was not God's will. He did not intend it for us. You know, it's us thinking we can handle things on our own. And we're sitting here and planning things and we're just praying it's going to work. Well, you know what the problem is? We got to realize something. If it's not in God's will, it's not going to work. He's not going to allow it to work. Plain and simple as that. And we get frustrated sometimes with that because we want to just handle it our way, you know. We think we know what's best for us. The fact of the matter is we really don't. We know how to get ourselves into sticky situations many times, more often than not. Now, listen, I am not saying the Lord will not put nothing in your mind for you to plan things out. I'm not saying He will never lead you either, you know. I'm not saying that. He does sometimes. And that's where you find things work successfully. You know that. He's put the concept in your mind because it was in His will after all, you know. But be very careful in trusting in yourself. You gotta definitely use discernment with that. And you know, listen guys, like I said, I'm just as guilty of that too, you know. I just sit there and make plans. Oh, it'll work, you know. What's there to lose? Yeah, well, there's a lot of times where there's quite a bit to lose. So we got to be very careful with that. Definitely. You know, and just remind ourselves that God's plan is the best plan. You know, it's not always, in fact, 9 times out of 10, it's not what we plan. It's rather opposite. Bigger, better, longer lasting, you know. You've seen me make posts on that subject before, but it's truth, you know. And like I said, you know, maybe sometimes God is going to lead you and guide you to plan things out. But that's not always the case, you know. More often than not, we just assume and we just take our own assumption and think we can handle it all on our own. So just be very careful with that. I love yous, and yous have a most blessed night.